since 1992. So I don't know if it was lower than that prior to that, if anybody's been around longer than that. But the rate is so good. I mean, everybody's either buying, selling, or refinancing is what we're seeing. So we did bring on a new lady, Barbara Smallwood. She's doing a great job for us. And also I sent, Stacia, I don't know if you got this flyer yet or not in your email. That's it. Beautiful. So, you know, with the COVID, fraud is running rampant out there. I think, Jason, you put that thing on there about that wire. The buyer lost $250,000. Thank God it wasn't our office. I'll just say that. But fraud is out there. So this is an opportunity for you to get 2 hours of CE or PLE. It qualifies for both. And that'll be in 2 weeks at 1 o'clock till 3. So it's a good way. It's recorded. So you have to stay on the Zoom, and it's reported to DPOR. But if anybody needs those classes, I tell you, there's so many tricks with the fraud out there right now. You know, the click here, click there, send money here. I mean, there's just so many things. So Matt's going to try and keep us out of the hot water with some ideas. And he always takes questions and things that you've seen. So I think it's a good way to learn and to get some free credits. Even if you don't have a license, I don't know if there's new people, Matt lets you attend this class just for knowledge. So I know you have some new folks. I think they're all licensed though, right? Right, Jason?
Yeah, so far, yeah.
So that's going on. A lot of the agents are starting to use the Zocam for the earnest money deposits. And I think we sent a flyer over there, but it saves you a lot of time. I know I was doing a closing over there yesterday, and one of the agents said they had to go meet an agent on the peninsula to get the earnest money. This would have saved them quite a bit of time and running around. So this thing really works. The Zocam, has anybody used it on the call yet?
I know there's some people in here that have used it, and it's been incredibly convenient to be able to just take a picture of your check and then deposit that with Sage as an earnest money deposit. I mean, logistically, it's fantastic. I mean, it's wonderful. So I think it's going to continue to grow.
Yeah, thank you. You get an email confirmation too. We get one, the buyer gets one, that the money is in there. So it's working out really good. When I was over there last week doing a closing, and by the time I got back to Kempsville, the money was already in the bank. So it's pretty fast.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to use as many tools as out there. I know Jonathan, hey Jonathan, we did a closing. I think I might have mentioned this. The seller was in Mexico, never signed the deed. And we were able to use remote online notary, RON, remote notary, online notary, right? So it's so new. And the buyer was in California. So we send a notary to California. We send a remote online. They just sign like at a doctor's office. And there are a few rules and regs on this. For instance, the lender has to approve the signed deed like this, which Prosperity will, which is huge. Otherwise, we might have been in a real pickle on this thing. And then the other thing is the courthouse has to accept the e-recordings, because a lot of times we e-record, and it was City of Chesapeake. Yes, they accepted it. So we were able to disperse. Unfortunately, when the notary went to the California location, they were in an accident and it delayed getting us the package by a day. But as my mom said, that was out of your control. You can't, some things are out of your control. And she's like 95 years old. So But anyway, it did get finally funded. We were in the 48-hour window, but we're trying to use every tool and think outside the box. So if you have something that is really weird, run it by us. There may be a solution. Now, some things are easier than others, but when we have the ally as Prosperity, another lender may have not have let us do it this way. So I'm just saying. So thank you, John, for your support out there.
No, it was all my decision. Sure.
Well, we started with you to ask if we could do it that way, and it went up and they said, oh yeah, we can do those. So now that opens the window when we have that seller. And if we have the buyer with Prosperity and that seller took off without telling anybody, we can use this remote online notarization and get this deal closed. So another reason to use the core services. I'm just saying.
It's all about the city, yeah. It's all about that city, Chesapeake accepting it, right? If other cities, localities will accept it or not, the reporting. So that's the key.
Yeah. That's true. There's some rules and regs that we have to check on, but luckily Chesapeake's good to go. And I think more cities will be taking that as time goes on. So it's just a great time to be in the business, you know, and we're really excited. Our capture rate's 89 point some %, which is higher than anybody that I know of in title. So we're beating everybody. So thank you. My hat's off to you all. And we thank you for your support.
Appreciate it, Brian. Thank you. Thank you very much. We appreciate your support as well. So, and Prosperity knows that if John needs something, they better get it done. That's just, you know, that's how it works. So, John, I appreciate you jumping on. I know you're probably slammed over there, but if you wouldn't mind, take a few minutes and give us any updates you can for mortgages and how they might affect us.
Sure. So, good morning, everybody. I guess good afternoon. I don't know about you. It was a long night for me. So staying up late watching the election, and then the kids woke up. So it was a long night. So
that is an understatement.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure, Stacey, it was a busy day for you yesterday. So thanks for everything you did for working at the elections. I appreciate that.
I survived. There was no fighting at the polling place. I did good.
That's great. At least, yeah. I'm sure everyone's ready to, no matter where you land on the election, I'm sure everyone's just glad that it's somewhat over, right? At least like the campaigning part.
Almost done. That's right.
Yeah.
TV
So,
commercials, yes.
Right, yeah. As far as market reaction to the election itself, everyone was curious to kind of know or see how the market was going to react to the results of the election. I had a lot of clients who reached out to me the last couple of days saying, hey, I want to lock in right now. I'm just worried about the unknown of what's going to happen after the election. So the good news is the market seemed to react positively to whatever the news is, I guess you want to say, even though some you said no news. But I think they kind of priced in most likely at this point, leaning Democrat presidency and that a Republican maintaining the Senate at this point. And gridlock from a political standpoint could be a positive thing for the market because there's less likelihood of large scale substantial systemic changes or regulations that could come about if one party had all control of all parts of the executive and the legislative branches of government. So they seem to like it. The Dow's up big today. Rates looked good today. So that's a positive thing. So we'll continue to move on from there. I did definitely want to give a shout out real quick to Sage and for everything that they do. I mean, we've closed like a record amount of refinances this year, and they are my right-hand man, Brian, Debbie, and Kelly over there. I mean, we talk at all times of the day and night to get things done, and I can't imagine doing my job without you guys. So thank you. And then shout out to Dawn. Dawn's been great as far as Long Foster Insurance. They've been getting more and more competitive is what I'm looking at as far as the quotes that are coming in. So keep up the good work there. Make sure you get your customers to give Dawn a shot for insurance. As far as, we're continuing to see volume. I mentioned in a call I was on earlier this morning that 2020 will be a record year for the mortgage industry, and not even by a little bit, by a long ways. It's shattering the records for originations. Before, the record was set in 2012, back when rates dipped back again. We saw a big refinance boom back kind of right at the depth of the Great Recession after the economic fallout of 2008. So we saw that. Now we're seeing continued volume throughout the end of the year. We're anticipating rates staying low for the next, year or two. We just don't know how long they're going to stay at this low. And when they start coming back up, they'll start coming up slowly. But it's a good thing. It's obviously, adding, keeping the engine of the residential real estate industry very strong right now with rates being so low. So that's a good thing. I mentioned this is probably one of the last couple things I'll talk about real quick, and then I can see if anybody has any questions, is the PICRA, when it comes in, if there is any, inevitably I'll get a PICRA and it'll have a bunch of things on it. They'll be crossed out at the bottom. Maybe it'll have a couple things are left, and the bottom will say, all parties agreed to change sales price to X, or all parties agreed to increase seller paid closing costs to Y. And I just want, from a lender standpoint, what I would suggest you do is have a separate addendum for any changes to the nuts and bolts of the contract, meaning the sales price or the closing cost assistance, because separate than the PICRA, right? Because when you send that PICRA to an underwriter, they can't unsee things. So if they see a bunch of things, even though there's a line through it, but it says seller to fix leak in ceiling, noted, blah, 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 or seller to fix joist in basement. When in actuality, maybe not a big deal, but when you're on the, running the PICRA, you're gonna throw everything that you have on the home inspection, you're gonna throw it on there to see if you can get it, right? As a buyer's agent, why not do that? But if an underwriter sees something like that, they may say, hey, I need more information on this issue, even though it's crossed out on the PICRA because everyone's okay with it not being addressed. It might basically open up Pandora's box, right? So try to have a separate addendum. You don't need to say in lieu of repairs. You can basically ratify the PICRA and at the same time have an addendum saying all parties agree, to change the sales price to the X, or all parties agree to increase seller paid closing costs from X to Y, and that's it. I mean, you don't have to have it necessarily in words connected to the PICRA. As long as you have it ratified, everyone's happy, you can move forward. You just want to tie it to repairs, if you can. You can do what you want. Just a suggestion from my standpoint of what I see. We're all trying to avoid potential booby traps all the time in every transaction, and it can basically blow up a transaction pretty quickly if all of a sudden the underwriter says, well, let me see a copy of the property inspection because it's referenced here. I just want to see if there's any defects to the property that can impact the health and safety of the buyer, and that could be a liability issue for us, an insurability issue from our standpoint. So does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Okay, it sounds like, and most people do that, but it's one of those things that sometimes it's just easier to put it on there when you're negotiating the PICRA, and it ends up creating way more issues at the end. But other than that, we're seeing turn times are still increased. Volume's still very high, so we're still seeing longer than normal turn times for appraisals. Title work is actually still coming back really quickly, so they're doing a great job there. But underwriting and processing still take a little bit longer than it normally would. It still feels like the summer for title and for lenders. When normally this kind of starts to slow down a little bit, it's still cranking. It's obviously a good thing for us, make hay while the sun shines or whatever, but it just really impacts every single transaction. So when everything takes a little bit longer, inevitably things are are happening more at the last minute. And that what we hate is any transaction to feel rushed, to feel pressured, to ask for things at the last minute. And we don't want that to be what your customer remembers. Because this transaction's already hard as it is. When we compress the time frame, it really can make it seem super stressful for everybody. So just try to build in, I say this every time we're on this call, try to build in as much time as you can. We don't need 45 days. We'd love to have 45 days. I mean, I would love to, 30, 35 days. But again, remember, when you have Thanksgiving holiday, we're gonna lose that time frame. That doesn't really count as part of the 30 days because everyone's gone on that Thursday and Friday. But obviously, in special circumstances, we'll do everything we can to close as soon as we possibly can. But I appreciate your flexibility as agents, and I appreciate Sage's flexibility as far as them catching the hot potato when we get the approval the day before and getting things through. So we're all working together. Obviously, the accountability level of working with Prosperity is much higher than if you're working with lender X down the street, because they don't care if you miss a closing date. It is what it is. For us, it impacts us. I have to be on these calls and interact with you guys eventually in person again, hopefully. But it means a lot for me when a family that I'm working with, that you're working with, gets impacted by some sort of issue with closing delays. So that means a lot for us to make sure those are happening on time. So I get emails every day, every morning from top level management of like, what do we need to do to get this close on time? Where are we at on this? So there's the engagements from top to bottom. We're focused on purchases. The refinances will come and go. We'll take them where we can get them, but the purchases are what we build our business on, and that's what will be there in the future. So we don't ever want to mess up a relationship with you guys. That's the most important thing to us. So other than that, I hope everyone's doing well. And I guess, does anybody have any questions about this or anything else as far as lending is concerned?
John, that one that I just submitted to you was a 30-day closing in an effort to sort of win, because we've been losing all the time. Are you saying that's going to be real close to do?
Well,
are we going to have to utilize that 10-day built in?
So what we are going to need to do is prepare for the possibility, worst case scenarios with everybody, especially as long as you and I and the buyers are on the same page. I'm cool with pushing for a certain date, but what we may need help with is making sure that they get things to us as soon as possible from a disclosure standpoint and documentation back to us. Every day that we lose can impact the getting us closing on time. Again, throwing that Thanksgiving holiday in, that whole week really is when people start taking PTO, that whole week. Right now, from lending standpoint, operations specifically are burnt out. They're working weekends, they're working overtime. We're paying them more, but they're not even taking overtime or bonuses because they're overworked. So my point is, there's going to be a lot of people this last week of the month who are going to say, I'm taking this whole week off. I'm going to do family. And so you imagine you still have the volume there. You have less operational staff to help. It's just going to be tough as far as getting things next step. Even if you're closing on the other side of it, things have to happen that week before. So to answer your question, we'll do everything we can. I think even if I think going in quickly for a quick closing to win the deal this day and age, you got to do what you got to do. But if you got to have the conversation with your buyer to say, this is what we're going to do. We want it, high five, but we have 10 days built in for a reason. We're going to do everything we can. If John asks you for something, I don't care if he, already asked for it before, call him if that's the case, or call him or Lindsay if you think you've already sent something in, but just get it quickly, get it done now. If you delay any at all, we could delay closing. But put in there that there's 10 days for a reason, and we'll get it done. But yeah, so that's kind of, does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yep. Thank you.
Of course. Thanks, Soren. By the way, so Soren, that was like, I think, how long, I don't know how many offers you had put on, 3 or 4, 5 with those clients?
I think it was the 4th one that won.
I mean, it's crazy. That price range, that 200 to 300 or 150 to 350, it is just on fire. There's nothing out there inventory wise. So if you need to move the closing up, to try to make the deal work, we'll do everything we can. We'll order the appraisal before the home inspection's done, just to kind of get a head start if we have to. We're not going to charge the borrower if something falls through. Stuff like that we can do. But at the end of the day, once you're ratified, we have that 10 days for protection. People get upset that we're late. As long as you got the transaction, that's what's important. So we'll get them in there.
Thank you. Yep.
Thanks, John. I appreciate it. That's a great reminder too about the PICRA and the seller concession or price change, because I've seen that twice in the last probably in the last week to 2 weeks. Where someone puts in, seller agrees to, do this instead of this repair. So keep that in mind, guys, when you're writing those PICRAs. So,
And last thing, Jason, is like if you're already at the max seller concessions, don't add anything in there just to say, oh yeah, for in lieu of repairs. Remember that's included in that cap, depending on the type of loan. Specifically conventional, you'll run into that 3% cap if you're putting down less than 10%. FHA and VA, you got a little more room there, but with a conventional loan, and you put down less than 10%, you have that 3% cap, and if you're already getting it, then don't add another $500 because what's going to happen is you're not going to be able to use it. It's just going to be left on the table. The seller will go back, and the buyer will be upset. So just remember that those caps still apply.
That's right. That's right. Thanks, John. Hey, Dawn. Thanks for being here. How'd your 12 o'clock call go?
It went well. I'm going to work up a home and auto quote for the nice guy. So fingers crossed I can help him with both.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we're sure glad you were able to jump on the call today.
Me too.
Any updates or anything specific happening in the insurance world?
Nope, it's all still pretty much running smoothly. I just wanted to throw out a reminder, and I know probably all of you have gotten one of these emails from me. If you're working with a client who's buying a house that's more than 10, 15, 20 years old, I'm probably going to send you an email asking for the age of the roof, the age of the HVAC, and if there have been any plumbing or electrical updates. And that's not to bug you because I know you guys are super busy. It's just an effort to get a better rate for your client because my underwriters love newer systems. And if you have that information and you can get that to me, then that will definitely be for your client's benefit. So I know you guys already have a lot to do and I hate to add to that, but it's all for your client in an effort to get them a good rate. So that's why I pester you about updated systems. So that's pretty much all I wanted to remind you guys. Thank you. You're keeping me super busy. I echo what John says. It's crazy. It's like midsummer as far as what we're doing business wise. So kudos to all of you guys. You're rising above this adversity and you're doing your thing. So thank you.
That's awesome. Dawn, I feel like you're talking specifically to me.
Nope.
With those annoying emails. So.
I'm talking to everybody because I know you guys get them and you're like, oh gosh, I got to find this information, but I really do need it to help your client. So
yeah. Well, thank you very much. Really appreciate you guys being there. And I really can't thank you guys enough. I mean, as a company, I feel like our one-stop shop value proposition is so strong. With mortgage, with title, with insurance, everybody right here under one roof. I feel like, we're able to provide a level of service to our client that a lot of other companies can't say they offer. And so it's really about, defining and explaining to the customer or the client, the value that they receive here that they're not going to receive somewhere else. And so, we should all be thinking constantly about the different ways that we can introduce someone to the value that we offer as a real estate agent individually, but also as a group, a family, and a company, because having inside access to these core service partners, I think is incredibly valuable to the client. I mean, the one-stop shop methodology, that philosophy, is why Walmart is the largest brick and mortar retailer in the world, right? Because you can get your tires and your groceries and your clothes at the same place. And here at Long & Foster, we've got something very, very similar to that in mortgage, title, insurance, real estate, home warranties, moving now with Tailored Move, and through our affiliation and relationship with the law firm, Shaheen Law. So very, very cool stuff right there. I'm really happy to be a part of this organization. So thank you guys very much. Let's check in with Stacia.
Aisha, hi.
Did I don't know if you were able to come up with any month-end numbers.
I have not, because 5 contracts were turned into me yesterday.
Okay. Okay.
And I don't know of those 5, how many are from October 31st.
Mm. Did you get that one that I had mentioned from Lost Mill?
I did see it.
Okay, good.
It was
Yeah.
after the hours I worked Monday, so
We
that's
will
on.
get those numbers out as soon as we
Yeah.
can. And thank you guys for your patience.
But
do
I would
want to click over.
assume we are over 7.
I think so too. I think we actually hit it. So
And-
very, very exciting.
And just so everybody knows, we will be getting Toys for Tots boxes, as well as boxes for the food drive that the I totally misplaced my notebook. The food drive that the Salvation Army for their food pantry that they do. I wrote everything down. Basically, they need everything because of the summer and the kids being out of school. They are accepting all non-perishable items. I then asked, because last year we collected personal hygiene items, shampoo, and things of that nature. They are still doing they call it the shower program. All of this is for the Suffolk Salvation Army. They're supposed to be bringing me boxes. The gentleman called the office today, but I'm not there to answer the phone. So I'll have to call him back. And they have what they call Senior Christmas, and it's for the elderly, and they give them things like blankets and hats and scarves and whatnot. So I'm actually going to be donating a bunch of those items that I've had for a little while that I wasn't able to get rid of previously in other situations. So if anybody knows anybody who has stuff of those items, certainly bring them to the office. Pickup will be right around December 6th. So I'm not sure if it'll be that Friday before or that Monday after, because the 6th is a Sunday. But just know that we are collecting. Tell all of your friends, your family. I'm going to work on a flyer with all of that information to get it out there. But the Toys for Tots logo, you can basically take that from anywhere. I have a few from previous times, and we'll start posting social media posts regarding all of those items. That's all I got.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Good information. So it's always nice to give back and help those that need help. So I think that's really cool. Look forward to getting that stuff and filling those boxes up like we did last year. That was awesome. So I'm going to do a screen share here, guys, and I want to share this short little 3-minute video with you. Some of you may have seen this, and some of you may have not. And so I'm going to play about 3 minutes of this video, because as we approach the end of the year, we've got to start giving thought to what we want to accomplish next year. And with that in mind, we're thinking about, what are my goals? What is it that I want? And how can I create a plan to attract and obtain what I want? But until you define what you want, and until you write it down, and until you put it into action, you're not going to necessarily get it. And so I'm just going to play a few minutes of this video, and then I'll stop it. And I've got some notes here that I want to share with you guys. So bear with me.
To really look at what some of these studies mean. So let's dive into it. What were the different groups that were tested? What were the differences between these groups? And really, what did this study show? Let's talk about group 1. Participants in group 1 were simply asked to think about their goals, to think about what they wanted to accomplish in the next 4 weeks, and they were asked to rate that goal. Group 2 was a little bit different, and this was true for groups 3, 4, and 5. They were also asked to type that goal down, right? Just type it into an online survey and rate their goal by some certain dimensions, how capable they thought they were of fulfilling these commitments and things like this. Now, when we look at group three added something. They were asked to write down specific action commitments. So not the far off goal, but there's different steps. And you could even think of them as promises that were going to get them to that goal. Group 4 was asked to write down their goals in that online survey, but they were also asked to email that goal to a supportive friend, someone that could maybe hold them accountable to what they said they would do. Now, group 5 is the last group. They were asked to not only think about the goal, not only write it down, to send it to a friend, but also send a weekly update to say, hey, how are things going? And in fact, the university itself would send reminders to make sure that this communication was happening, as we sometimes forget to follow up on these things. And so this is the differences between group 1 through 5. What was the difference? What was the difference in mean goal achievement, meaning the average number of goals that were achieved? And when we say success in this particular study, again, contemplating, understanding really what happened in this particular research, we have to realize that goal achievement was 15% or more of the goal was achieved. Now, in the world of Because I Said I Would, we would not consider that a promise kept, but we want to stay true to really what these findings are. So what was the average number of goals achieved between these different groups? Let's talk about that. I think one of the biggest differences you see right off the bat is the difference between unwritten goal and written goal. There's a 42% increase in goal attainment with just simply writing the goal down. That is the only difference. And then when we look at the difference between group 1, who had unwritten goals, and that group 5, who not only wrote them down, they also emailed it to a friend, had those updates, the goal attainment rate increased over 77%. Now, it's important to point out that this is just an experimental piece of research, meaning that this hasn't been peer reviewed by other clinical psychologists. This hasn't been repeated by people all over the world in graduate study programs, and the things that you really need to do to make sure this is concrete social science. However, it is statistically relevant. It is very indicative. It points in a direction that says this is something to take a strong look at. This is the power of an artifact. This is the power of writing it down. Now, I think it's important we ask the question, why is this true? And while we may not have that answer right now, I believe that part of it is just bringing our focus to that. We say so many words a day. We have so many thoughts and ideas, priorities bounce up and down, but when we bring it into reality, when we actually write that down, it takes on a different light. It brings our focus to it. And I think that's the power of an artifact. That's the power of writing a promise card. That is a promise that you can physically see, you bring into this world, and it's not something that is magical in any sense. It simply is a matter of focus.
I'm going to end it right there. If you guys don't know, I did share that video in the TGIF, and I thought it was really cool. And I got that from one of Coach Fino's business planning classes. And so I wanted to talk to you guys about, what it is we can do, each one of us individually, to, not only get the goals that, we have in mind. First, you have to decide what you want, but then as a company. And so Moxie Engage allows us to enter our goals as individuals, but then it accumulates all of that data into an office profile. And so my request for you is to, give some thought to, and, sit down, write down those things that you would like to attract and earn, write down your goals, and then put that information into Moxie, because Moxie will do a pretty darn good job of helping you every day track your progress toward your goal. And so they've got transaction management software in there, and they've got goal tracking software in there. And so if we do that as a community or as a tribe in this office, then we'll all be able to better work together in order to meet our individual goals, but we'll be able to know better what our goal is as an office or as a team. And so I think that would be really, really good for all of us, because if we're all tracking our progress and we're all holding one another accountable, whether it's me or Stacia or anybody, that's part of this crew. I mean, we're all pretty generous in nature, I think. And so if you need someone to help you through this, I'm sure that most anybody would agree to do that. And if you need somebody to help hold you accountable, you know, I heard a great story this morning in the tips from the top about an individual agent who needed a little more accountability in order to make his business grow and to change his life essentially. And so, you know, his coach or his mentor would call him every morning at 7:30 and say, hey, what are you going to do to support your family today? And then every evening at 5:30, he had to call the coach and say, this is what I did today. Now that's an extreme level of accountability that I would not be open to at all whatsoever. but some people would, right? And so you're not going to get it if you don't ask for it. And you're not going to get it if you don't write it down. So I think I just want to be really, really strong about encouraging you to write down your goals if you do nothing else. But if you really want to take it to the next level, then hold yourself accountable to someone. You know, report the progress that you're making on those goals. And if you do that through Moxie, then I can help you. Then Stacia can help you because we can see the tracking or the progress that you're making in terms of your goals. And I think that would be a really, really neat way for us to all be on the same relevant page. And we could all kind of see our future together and the progress that we're making. And so, you know, I've told you guys before, to me, it doesn't matter if you want to sell 4 houses a year or if you want to sell 40 or 400, you know, God bless you. My job is to help you reach your goals. And it's totally up to you what those goals are. And so, but you've got to let me know, and you've got to, you know, ask for help. And if you're looking for an accountability partner, I'm more than happy to help you. But I really want you to start planning for 2021. You know, 2021, do you want a new car? Do you want a new house? Do you want to pay for a college education? Do you want to retire? You know, what is it that you would like to accomplish financially in 2021? Because then you can take that information and you can start to create a business plan around that. And you say, okay, I want to make $150,000 in 2021 in my real estate business. Okay, well, we can figure out how to do that. You know, we have an average home sale price of roughly $280,000, depending on the week. And so we can determine then how many buyers that's going to require, how many sellers that's going to require. And then we got to start figuring out where are these buyers and sellers going to come from. You can either invest time and save money, or you can invest money and buy business or buy leads. But there is going to be an investment required. You know, and most of the time, you know, people don't just automatically remember that you're a real estate agent and they call you and say, hey, I want to sell my house. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. I wish it did. So you're going to have to make an investment, and you can invest time and or money in letting the world know that you're a real estate agent. The worst thing you can do is be a secret agent, right? We need to let the world know that we're in the business of real estate, and if they have questions, we can help them. And there's a million different ways that we can do that. And so some of them are paid, some of them are not paid. You know, some of them are expensive and some are inexpensive. But it's totally up to you and where your comfort level is and how you're going to generate that business. For most agents, the majority of their business comes from their sphere of influence. But it doesn't happen overnight. It comes from a systematic process of reminding our sphere of influence that we're in the business of real estate, and we provide them with relevant real estate information consistently over a period of time. And we continue to nurture that relationship so that when the subject of real estate comes up, they think about us. So, so the point of today's topic was goals. I would love for you guys to literally sit down and write down your goals and plug some of that information into Moxie so that we can work together to help you hold yourself accountable and track your goals. Anybody have any questions about that? Does anybody do that right now?
I don't have a question, but there is a sheet from Moxie some years ago that you can plug in what your you know, like your personal expenses are, and what like vacations or big events you're planning and things like that, to figure out what monetarily your goal would be to earn and what you would need to work for each month.
I use Moxie to plug in my GCI 2 years now. 2020 was the second year I did it. Not the sheet you're talking about, Stacia.
I know
don't think.
that just plugs in the number. This is to find out what that number would need to be
Oh, yes.
to put into Moxie, so you know
You
what
have to
you're
work
working towards.
Yeah.
There's, you know, Coach Fino just finished a 3-part series on business planning, and he had some really good content in there. Probably that sheet would be available in those classes. So you can always go back into the Success Path or the recorded webinars in the Institute and find that information, or look on that the list of recorded classes that I send out in the TGIF. You can find those business planning classes that Coach Fino just did over the last few weeks, and find those materials. There's also a really, really cool business planner at breakthroughbroker.com. We talked about that last year. And I know that some people found that really useful and easy to use, and help them determine, okay, how much do I need to earn in order to cover these types of expenses? And how does that break down into buyers and sellers? And so if you haven't seen that yet, go to breakthroughbroker.com and look up their business plan. It's pretty cool. And there are many, many others, you know, places to find a business planning tool. So, but it has to start with you and your goal. And then you can create a plan around that and implement systems in order to help you achieve that plan and work through that plan. So lots of good stuff here, guys. And so I just want you to know that we're here to support you. I appreciate you being here.
I have numbers.
Yeah, for sure.
I have your numbers.
What are they?
So for October,
Drum
our
roll.
drum roll, 7,025,896. The average sales price was 275, 525.33 cents.
Awesome.
And that was for 25 and a half transactions.
That's
And if we're
incredible.
really wanting to jump into it, 4 days into November, and we're at 977,400.
Good grief, y'all. You're just tearing it up out there, man.
And that's 4 transactions with an average price of 244,350.
You
Awesome.
get mine in there, Stacia?
That is with yours in there. I said y'all turned in 5 transactions yesterday.
That's fantastic.
4 for November, and the last one that pushed us over 7 for October. So,
Well, business is happening. It's certainly a confirmation that even through a pandemic and the year that we've had, you know, buyers and sellers are on the move, and they need our help. I think you could talk to, you know, just about anybody in a grocery store today, and they probably know someone who's looking to buy or sell or refinance. And you have a resource that might be able to help them. You have knowledge, information, and connections that may be able to help them. And in doing that, you know, obviously help yourself and help the company and the economy. I read an article today in Keeping Current Matters that there's approximately $88,000 in economic stimulus associated with the sale of a real estate transaction or a real estate property. And so how they determine that is all of the parts of the puzzle, right? You have title companies that have to be paid. You have staff at those companies. You have, you know, attorneys' offices that prepare deeds, and you have the staff at those companies. You have the real estate agents, obviously, and there's brokers involved, and there's E&O insurance companies involved. And so that money is spread out around an entire community to have a huge economic impact with every single transaction. And so I think it was this year alone, the KCM article had suggested that in economic stimulus, the real estate market has accounted for $3.7 billion just this year, and that's not counting the volume of the sale. So pretty remarkable what we do. And so it's our job to help people, you know, whether they have questions or whether they need service, we can be a resource to them. So good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you guys. Appreciate you being here. Let me know if you have any questions. Next week, next Wednesday, we're going to be talking about Testimonial Tree. And it is a Long & Foster partner company. It's a great place to organize your testimonials, get those reviews, and then share them all over the internet, but specifically on your agent, Long & Foster agent website. And so if you don't know what that might look like, I have a couple on my website, jasongooden.com. You're welcome to go over there and check them out.
Ellie does too.
And we will go through Testimonial Tree, how to set that up, and how to get those reviews to show on your agent website next Wednesday. Cool. You guys enjoy the day.
Awesome.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
See ya.